This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
Lowe's knows when you're looking for reliability, the right brand makes all the difference. And now, Lowe's is the exclusive home improvement retailer for the Whirlpool water treatment line, including their Wi-Fi softener, under-sink filtration system, and more. With Whirlpool's proven performance and our everyday low prices, better tasting, better quality water is within reach. Shop pro-trusted brands like Whirlpool and more, in-store or online. Lowe's, we help, you save.
Unfiltered discussions, unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hello, welcome, happy Friday. Hope you're having a nice start to the weekend. Here's what you're going to learn on tonight's program. Did your seatmate on the last flight you took pay less for their ticket than you? Not because of demand, but because an AI computer algorithm sized you up. In about 10 minutes' time, we will unpack the odd world of personalized pricing. It sounds friendly. It's personal. It ain't. AI peeks at you, peeks at your data, quietly tweaks the price for something, and you end up paying 50 cents more for ketchup than your buddy. But how is this happening, and what can you do to tilt the game back in your favor? That's right, there are ways to beat this. That is what we'll cover coming up. Then, what would evening radio be if we did not discuss alien abductions? We'll have an expert on to go over their top 5 most compelling abduction stories over the last few decades. I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in this. Maybe you're on my side. Maybe you believe. Either way, you might come away from these stories more convinced. Things like the inspiration behind the movie Fire in the Sky. They'll be probing. There'll be lights. Should be fun. That's halfway through the hour. All right, let's jump into the show.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
And in people getting caught without medical licenses performing creepy, unqualified, unlicensed, and uncomfortable medical examinations in their own home news, we are joined by Tony Five, foreign correspondent, live from the scene in Cincinnati, Ohio. And by that I mean in his apartment in London, England. Tony, welcome to the show.
David, always a pleasure to be here, and let's make a genuine announcement. This was not me. I have many qualifications from Groupon, David. I am not an unqualified doctor. I have never tampered with anybody, David. But carry on with the story, my friend.
Yes, this guy was found guilty of inviting people to his own home to perform...
Stop. So what, for medical examinations in your own home, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Carry on.
Sounds above board. Did anyone want to come over to my house for a medical exam?
Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned at all. The amount of healthcare costs in your country, and someone just invites you around to his house. Did he ask you to bring like some groceries with him at the same time?
That wasn't in the court documents, so we can't be sure.
Okay.
But this happened in Ohio. This guy invited 2 dudes at separate occasions.
By dude, I think you mean patient, and I think you mean somebody who they're investigating a possible illness, right?
Wait, if you don't have a license to be a doctor, are the people you see patients, or are they some dudes?
Is that like that thing about a bear in a forest?
Something like that. Anyway, one of the people this doctor examined, he was an acquaintance of his that he met through a running club or running app. All right, so it's sounding a little weird, but he told this doctor, well, he actually has like a medical degree. He just doesn't have a medical license, which are the two things you need to practice medicine, in case anyone's wondering.
Okay.
Tony learned all about this in his Groupon medical school class of 05, which maybe he went to the same school as this guy. Anyway,
we did. I mean, let's not besmirch my alma mater, as they call it. But yes, I mean, Groupon University is a fantastic place to study.
He said that this doctor said he needed to conduct ultrasounds to help him get licensed or so. He made some story like that. Yeah.
Like credits. Basically, he said he needs to do these things to build up his credits to get, higher up on the doctor ladder. It sounds perfectly plausible to me, David.
Now, when the State Medical Board of Ohio was asked to comment on that, they said this was not true. But anyway, this doctor invites these guys over to his house, does a full body. And when I say full body, I really mean full body exam with ultrasounds and the like on these two, I guess, victims,
Yeah, they are victims, I'm guessing, because I don't think he could provide a valid medical report based on the examinations, right?
I think that's exactly right. One of the people said that he told his wife afterwards that he felt weirded out by the exam. Oh, God. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Well, I mean, that's always what you want to hear when you come back from a medical examination, right?
This is uncomfortable and slightly awful. In case you're wondering, medicine is not something you should ever practice on an amateur capacity. Yeah, that's my general medical advice there. But yeah, this guy, obviously when these patients complain, well, they're not patients, these dudes, these victims.
Victims, yeah.
When they complained, the medical board was like, yeah, no. They investigated him. He was found guilty. He is, I don't know if he's facing jail time or what, but he has been found guilty of it.
I mean, he'll be struck off the list to be able to perform anything legally or illegally.
But he wasn't on the list before. That's the thing.
Okay, so that brings up a question, right? If he wasn't trained to do something that he did anyway, how could he be banned from doing it when he wasn't qualified to do it in the first place?
True.
It's a quandary and a paradox, right? So they can't re-ban him, so they would have to reinstate him to then ban him.
Yeah, but he could be investigated for fraud. So, there's a criminal act of fraud that has nothing to do with the medical boards.
Yes, so saying you could do something and you can't, which is what he was, because he didn't have the qualifications, did he?
That's exactly right.
But it's also the sad fact that these poor guys went round there. Do you not think at one stage they would have thought, okay, well, we're not going to the hospital today. We're going to 111 Cincinnati Road, Cincinnati.
To a guy we met on a running club app.
Yeah, and then they've parked up. There's no nurses there. There's no emergency notices there. There's no ambulances in the background. They've just gone into this guy's sitting room or living room, as you guys would call it, and he just sat there. Maybe a chicken leg in one hand and an ultrasound device in the other. I would be at that point. I would be slightly worried. But the court documents kind of inferred that they went through the whole procedure. Now, if you haven't had an ultrasound, that's a good 25 minutes. At what point do you realize that this is a little bit weird?
I mean, at the point where afterward you tell your wife that you felt weirded out. Yeah. And he bought the ultrasound device on his own to use on his, it wasn't like hospital equipment. He just bought an Amazon Prime.
Man, Amazon sell everything. I blame Amazon for. Do you know what? If we distill most of the news we bring to the world, I would say a lot of it, maybe 85-90% of it is Amazon, leaving the rest of the 25-26%, another, like eBay, for example.
Mm-hmm. You're doing great with percentages there, Tony, as ever.
Thank you.
Well, that's the story. Tony, what are you up to this weekend? What's going on in the United Kingdom, in London, on London Street, where you obviously live?
David, I am doing something wonderful, something that makes my heart soar and explode with joy. I'm taking my two beautiful nieces out separately because they are an absolute nightmare individually out. So I took one of them out today to see a show called The Tiger That Went to Tea. Have you heard of this?
No, but it sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
Yes, so The Tiger That Came to Tea is a well-loved book by an English author, and most kids read it here, like your Dr. Seuss type thing, right? And it fundamentally is about a tiger that goes to tea in this couple's house, right? Now, upon examination, it sounds cute, right? Tiger that came to tea, but this tiger just rocks up to this house completely unannounced, eats them all out of house and home, and then just leaves. The family were there, and they didn't think they were going to get eaten. There was a little girl involved, and a boy, and a father and a daughter. And most of the listeners, you'll have heard of this. This is a really famous story, The Tiger That Came to Tea. But I was quite disgusted by it, that he just came in. He didn't offer to pay. He just ate them out of house and home. He ate the tea. He ate cakes. It was pretty much everything. He left the family hungry, didn't pay for it, and then just left. Never came back again as well.
Rude, if you ask me.
I found it quite disturbing. Now, all the children in the theatre thought it was hilarious, but I, for one, am going to write a strongly worded complaint to the theatre and the author, which I believe she's dead now.
Some of these old children's books, like Hansel and Gretel and stuff, like they're very, or the, what is it, Little Red Riding Hood?
They're dark. They're dark.
They're dark. They're twisted. They're violent.
If you read them in their original context, not the saturated Disney-fied versions, they are really horrific.
And just like that, Tony, himself really horrific, graces us with his presence every day. Tony 5, foreign correspondent in London, England. What a pleasure it was. Would you like a free medical exam in my house? I've got some ultrasound equipment.
Have you spent that Amazon voucher I gave you?
Oh boy, I've been found out. Thanks, Tony.
Bye!
Up next, we'll explain something that sounds like a friendly product. Personalized pricing. It's not friendly. It's internet companies using AI to figure out the maximum amount they can charge you for their products. I know it sounds like doom and gloom and you're going to overpay because they're going to find you to be a sucker, but there's a way to beat this, and we'll give you details after the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Where intellectual honesty gets witness protection from social prosecution. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Today, algorithms know more about us than some of our closest friends. And get this, when buying something online, the price you might see is not the price I see. That's right, personalized pricing. It is on the rise, and it seems AI might be deciding what we pay for online these days. Can we fight back? Why is this happening? That is what we'll discuss here with Professor Jay Zagorsky, who's an economist at the Questrom School of Business at Boston University. Jay, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, David.
For someone who has never heard the term, it sounds kind of friendly in a way. Personalized. These companies care a lot about me. What is personalized pricing? I know I just gave a rudimentary or a crude definition of it, but what is it and how is it different from like a regular sale or a regular discount?
So personalized or customized pricing is when every single customer receives a different price for the same product. And David, that's the holy grail. It's what businesses really want because it boosts profits. With personalized or customized pricing, people who are kind of free spending, people who don't really care so much about money, they pay a lot more. While the people who are price sensitive, they pay a little bit less. And it's sort of like custom tailoring for clothes. We can figure out not only the fit of a suit jacket or a skirt, we can actually figure out, are you willing to pay a lot for this or a little bit for it? And based on your desire, we'll set up a customized pricing or personalized pricing for you.
But this seems kind of not great for the consumer. Shouldn't they be paying what something is quote unquote worth, like whatever it costs the company to make or create, plus some profit margin, and it should be the same for everyone? Isn't that what's fair?
Well, so that's the idea that I've been trying to get across, that we have been used to set prices, where there's a single price, everyone pays the same thing, and that's been in existence since about the late 1800s. And it started off with a man named John Wanamaker at a Philadelphia department store. He had a problem, and the problem was he was trying to create a very large store with lots and lots of items. And before Wanamaker, you'd go into a store and you'd bargain with the owner. You'd say, oh, I want this shirt. And the owner would say, this is how much it's going to cost you. And they'd, that's not enough. So we'd go up and down on price.
Haggling.
It happens all the time. And we still haggle over things like cars. So customized pricing still exists today in some areas. The problem is that while cars we only buy a few of and they're very expensive, what about small things like a jar of ketchup or some eyeglasses, something like that? It doesn't seem worth it for businesses to haggle, right? It's too expensive. Their customers don't really like it. But with AI, we can actually haggle or customers can get personalized pricing down to the individual eyeglass level or jar of ketchup.
Great. So I'm up against, like, robots can beat everyone at chess right now. There is no great chess player that can defeat the best chess algorithm that I know of today. Basically, AI is going to figure out what kind of sucker I am, how much they can get out of me, and not charge me like a fair price, not charge me what they're going to charge my neighbor who they don't think they can get that extra 50 cents for that bottle of ketchup from. Is that the future of pricing? Like, is this what it's going to look like?
It is the future of pricing. And why I talk about this is that there's ways to defeat AI. There's ways to get around this. Let's talk just what is AI. AI is models that are really good at predicting. If you use AI to write, for example, my students write papers for me, right? AI is just really good at making what's the best words that come next. Or sometimes in email, AI suggests, Jay, this is what you really want to say in this email. And I'm like, wow, how'd you know that? AI is wonderful at predicting, and it's wonderful at predicting prices. How much am Jay going to pay for that bottle of ketchup? But how do we defeat AI? The simplest way of defeating AI is preventing it from getting data. When AI has very little data, it's very bad at predicting.
Garbage in, garbage out, or not enough in, not good enough out kind of thing?
Right. Not enough in, not enough out, right? So if AI has basically nothing to understand and can't really understand who Jay is or who David is, then it's not going to be very good at predicting. So I've written a book, and the book's called The Power of Cash, Why Using Paper Money is Good for You in Society. And I talk to a lot of people, and they're like, I would never use cash. And my response is, yes. By using cash, you can regain some privacy. And people are like, I gave up privacy. Or my whole life is on, TikTok, Instagram, X, something like that. And I say, yes, but AI models are taking all the information you're providing them, all those things you've been buying, and they're now understanding who you are. So if you don't tell AI who you are and use things like paper money, and I'm going to talk in a second about some other ways for people who don't want to use cash. If you use things like paper money, then they don't know what you purchased and what you paid for that.
Interesting. So I buy some stuff at Walgreens using a credit card. That data of those purchases can now be sold to like Amazon, and then Amazon can use what I bought at Walgreens to try to predict what I'll pay on Amazon. I'm not saying that example exists in the wild, but something like that could happen if I used a credit card.
I think the examples are going to happen more in the wild than you think. I talk a lot about supermarkets to my MBA students, Masters of Business Administration, and I say supermarkets nowadays make money two ways. One, by selling you products, selling you that bottle of ketchup.
And the other is you're the product.
Well, the other is selling information about, what you bought ketchup and what else did you buy with it.
That's what I mean. They're selling you products, and then they're selling you as a product, what you purchase.
Exactly. Two streams of revenue for supermarkets, for other things. Credit card companies, they make money. You don't pay interest. They make interchange fees, all these kind of things. But they're also making money because businesses want to understand who their customers are.
So wait, those points they give me that I, occasionally get a free flight every 10 years, they might not actually be worth it because the data that they use to track me could then be used to sell me more expensive stuff?
Exactly.
Whoa.
Exactly. So a lot of listeners right now are going, oh, I don't want to give up my credit cards. I don't want to give up my points, things like that. So my response is use cash for small purchases. And if you're buying something really big, then use a credit card and rack up the points. You're not racking up that many points for a $10 purchase, for a $15 purchase. So try and hide as much data as you can. That's one way. For those people who are saying, well, I'm buying things on the internet. Since I'm buying things on the internet, I can't use paper money. There's no way to take a bill and shove it through my screen, or if I'm on my phone the same way, then I say there's a couple of ways. One, you really want to make sure your cache is cleared, get rid of your browsing history, these kind of things. Number two, be careful of your location. What do I mean by location? I travel quite a bit as a professor, and I speak in lots of different places. I was in Botswana, and I needed an airplane ticket to South Africa. And the next day, I opened up my laptop. I typed in, I wanted to go from Botswana to South Africa. They said about $200. I said, great. My wife said, time for dinner. Didn't have time to buy the tickets. Went off for dinner, came back, and I accidentally logged in with a VPN. And the VPN put me back in Boston, back in North America. And I asked for the airplane tickets, and the price went up to $1,000.
Interesting. So international VPNs really confuses these models.
Right. It confuses these models. And it was like, wow, you're in a rich neighborhood. You can pay a lot. You're not in a relatively low income area of Botswana. And then I suddenly realized the VPN was on. I shut off the VPN. I cleared the cache and the price went back down to $200 for the tickets. And I was like, whew. Luckily, I figured that one out.
It can be as subtle as regional within a country. It can be as not so subtle as international pricing. This is a well-known thing about airlines. So just try to confuse these companies that are tracking you, giving you quote-unquote personalized prices.
So it's pretty simple. Try and confuse them and also try and make sure there's as little data as possible. And remember that in the modern society, privacy is gone and everything is being tracked, but not everything is being tracked accurately.
I wonder if there's some way in which the consumer can tell these companies, hey, it's not fair, like, oh, this company does that and we punish you by not shopping there. I wonder if that's kind of part of it too.
People have asked me, what do you predict? And I predict in 5 or 10 years, there are going to be some companies that are going to advertise, we have set prices. We do not do custom pricing. And one example would be the large chain called Costco. Costco basically says we mark everything up 14 or 15%, and that's it.
That's the great future we're going to. Hold on to your cash and get rid of the cards, I guess. I'm here with Professor Jay Zagorsky, an economist at the Questrom School of Business at Boston University. Jay, it's been great chatting with you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Up next, a woman claims to have been abducted by aliens from her New York home, beamed from her bedroom to a spaceship with eyewitnesses who saw it. I don't quite believe in it, but it's just one of the most compelling alien abductions that we will cover as things get a little weird after the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Exploring both interstellar and interpersonal space-time continuums. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Across lonely highways and quiet bedrooms, people claim to vanish for minutes or days, returning with tales of light, strange alien beings, impossible journeys. Tonight, we will talk top 5 alien abductions of all time. How's that for clickbait?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I know what they are, and I'm excited.
The guest says before he's introduced, breaking format because we are the renegades of radio. I'm here with Noah Cappe. It's Noah versus the unknown. Noah's a TV host, and some describe him as insane. Others describe him as too sane. He's got a different take on events than me, but I will concede this. The people that were abducted in these top 5 abductions of yours, I think they all believe. They have sincerely held beliefs. I don't think they're lying.
I think by the end of this segment, we are going to move you on the meter, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's a few decimal points towards believing. I think there's some stories here that just might have an impact on you, my friend.
Let's start with Linda Napolitano.
This is it. Top 5, number 5, sitting right on the kickoff of our list. It's November 30th, 1989. We're smack dab in the middle of Manhattan, New York City.
Where's that?
It's a little spot. I think that city's going to have a moment. Something's happening there.
Oh, the island nation of Manhattan. That's where I live. Yeah.
That's the one. Oh, there it is. I thought you looked familiar. 3:15 a.m. Linda claims that she's pulled from her bed by a beam of light. This is the classic story of the light floating, feeling like she can't move her body, all of this. She reports that these small beings take her on board. She undergoes the classic medical examination, series of weird tests before that she's returned.
Don't forget the probing and never forget the probing.
Sprinkle in a little probe and bing, bang, boom, she's back in her bed. What makes this case on the top 5 and what kicks it off is this really weird thing that happens at 3:15, 3:16, 3:17. 911 gets 2 or 3 different phone calls from people in different parts of the city who claim that there is some kind of object outside of an apartment window and there's a woman floating. Now, one of these calls is from a diplomat who is in town, and his security force are one of the witnesses. So again, always going to it's people looking to get famous. What are these diplomatic security guards doing, notifying the police and saying that they see a floating body? So that's like one of the really kind of key pieces of this story.
Okay, so there's compelling eyewitness testimony there.
Compelling. I mean, it goes on. Bud Hopkins, who's like a prominent UFO researcher, lands up getting almost creepily involved in this story. And over 20 witness statements and years of like Linda continuing a wacky story. The reason it sits at 5 is because she takes this thing off the rails. But that 3:15 a.m. moment, multiple people seeing it, that's a weird one.
I don't know what to say other than eyewitness testimony is not enough for me, but I agree that for some, it's compelling evidence.
No question. And listen, that's why it's number 5.
All right, fine. Let's go to the next one.
Because you can't have a 4 without a 5, and 4 is the Allagash abductions. 1976, Maine, USA. 4 college friends. These are just regular guys. They are professionals. They have jobs. These are not people who are out to try to become non-internet famous. I mean, this is just a group of guys on a camping trip. Second night, they're fishing. It's late at night. They see a bright light in the sky, and it's almost like tracking them. They take out their flashlights and they shine it towards this light. And from that moment till they remember the next thing, frantically paddling back to shore, the light is gone. Now, they all claim that that they were abducted, and independently, these 4 guys are interviewed. They're put under hypnosis. They go through lie detector tests, and the stories are coming back similar. The majority of the group passes all of the polygraph stuff. They share physical symptoms like rashes, skin irritations. And I know you're going to say they're camping, they're in the woods.
Poison ivy. No, I mean, rule number 1, shining a flashlight at a UFO is like brandishing a weapon to a human being. That's like messing with it. Don't shine a flashlight at it. That's just saying, come over here and abduct me.
I've seen enough videos online of people, with laser pointers shooting them up at the sky at these weird objects and the thing changing direction and stuff like that. This is just one of those groups, one of those stories where you have a group of guys who really, in no way, shape, or form, are out to become famous. They swear that this is true. They all have a similar story, independently interviewed. So one of those where you say, okay, group kind of, evidence here. We've got 4 people sharing multiple things that you can kind of check off. So that's an interesting one as well.
The problem is, and that is compelling evidence, and I'll even concede maybe they sincerely believe it, but I need stronger evidence. It's an extraordinary claim that intelligent life is visiting us with spacecrafts that can make us, disappear with a beam of light. And 4 people's stories and rashes and polygraphs being tested, all that lining up is just not enough for me, And I think that's where you and I are different, but it is a fascinating story.
It is. It's, I guess, and this is our epic battle, you and I, because I always say, when you have so many stories with so many people saying so many things that are so similar and all of it, are they all yahoos? Are they all out to be famous? Are they all up to no good?
I don't know what it is, but I know that it's not enough for me to say it's true. It's enough for me to say it's not necessarily false. Like, I just don't believe it yet. That's kind of my position.
Well, then let's go to number 3. Let's jump right into the Pascagoula abduction, Mississippi, USA. 2 shipyard workers, again, just like blue-collar dudes. Their names are Charles and Calvin. They're fishing at night. They hear a strange sound above them. And then a football-shaped craft with bright lights descends nearby. 3 entities exit this craft. They describe them as about 5 feet tall with gray skin.
Classic gray alien, like X-Files situation.
Yeah, but this one's weird because then they say that they've got these like lobster claw type hands and these weird protrusions in their ears. Anyways, both of the men claim that they're then seized. They're floated on board. They're scanned with a device and all of this stuff and then released. Here's why this is on the list. A sheriff lands up, whatever they call them. He comes over, he sits down and talks with them.
This is Mississippi, so it's the sheriff.
This is the sheriff of town.
Sheriff. Anyway.
Sheriff pulls up and he says, listen, what's going on here, whatever. And from the first moment, he's just like, these guys are... He always, to this day, insists that they were rattled in such a genuine way that it was like it just didn't in any way, shape, or form feel like a story, an act, any of it. He starts secretly recording this conversation and then leaves. Now, these guys don't know that it's being recorded. They're not in a sheriff's like room where there's a camera up in the corner, whatever. And the audio of these two guys who think they're in a room alone, it is like whisper talking to each other, freaking out about their fear that people are going to think it's this and it's a hoax, and sharing what happened. And it's like this disturbingly real audio that is no way, shape, or form known that they're being recorded. Again.
But wait, no, couldn't they have been in on it with the sheriff to get media attention? I mean, isn't it conceivable that it's a hoax? I'm not saying it is, but there is the world where it could be.
No question, but it's like always it feels like it's like the escape hatch, like the easy, just pull everybody's up to a lie. Like the sheriff is in on a weird alien scam. The guy's got the gig of the year, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy's been in the force for however many decades and has shown no signs of behavior like this.
To me, that's more likely than alien visitors. I'm just saying it's one possibility. That's all I'm saying.
Puncture marks on their arms, feeling similar feelings of being paralyzed. Witness collaboration years later. Other locals come forward, say that they now admit that they saw lights. This is one of those where there's a little bit of physical evidence, there's a whole bunch of audio evidence, and a few witnesses sprinkled in as well.
Well, I'm here with Noah Cappe. We are going through his top 5 list of alien abductions. I'm convinced that these stories are compelling evidence, but I'm not quite convinced yet. It's Noah versus the unknown. We'll be back with the Travis Walton incident that inspired that wild movie that gave me nightmares, Fire in the Sky.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Keep listening to The Last Show with David Cooper, because the alien invasion can wait. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are back. Noah Cappe is here, a TV host. It's Noah versus the unknown. We are talking alien abductions, the most compelling ones, according to Noah. I, a skeptic, remain unconvinced, but open-minded. Noah, what a great conversation. I love alien abductions, even though I don't really believe in... Well, I do believe in aliens in the sense that they're out there in the cosmos. I'm not convinced they did us yet. Is that the right word?
I mean, are they visiting? Do they live here? Are they in the oceans? I mean, I don't know. That's a different episode. But what we're about to get into is the top 2 examples of alien abductions of all time. And these are so famous that even if you're not a believer or into this kind of stuff, there's a good chance you've heard these ones.
My brother forced me to watch Fire in the Sky as a kid about this Travis Walton incident we'll soon talk about, and I had nightmares for years. I was convinced aliens were real, and they were going to come in my bedroom and pinch me or something.
It's a terrifying story. The movie will mess you up. It's a weird one. And let's get into it.
Let's f***ing do it.
November 5th, 1975. We're in the National Forest in Arizona, USA. Travis Walton, he's 22 years old at this time. He's part of this 7-man logging crew that is in a truck. They're driving home. It's late at night. They're descending down this road in this national forest. The entire truck sees a bluish light that is like glowing out in the woods. They drive out towards it. As they get closer and closer, the entire truck, every single one of them, sees a floating craft. Now, Travis gets out of the truck and starts to walk towards it, and they see him get abducted. I mean, whether it's sucked up, whether there's light and everything's gone, and he's gone and the ship's gone, they witness his disappearance. Now, from there, this guy's gone, and for 5 days, nobody can find him. They drive back into town, and that sets off a conveyor belt of police interviews, polygraph tests, individual sit-down interviews with each of them, and they're just checking every box. The polygraphs are coming back legit. The descriptions of what they're seeing are like all whatever. Everybody who knows these guys vouches that they're not up to no good. It's wild. Now, 5 days later, Travis appears completely out of it and claims that he's been abducted. He's gone. There's no time. There's nobody knows where he was or what was happening. And it kind of kicks off this story, our number 2 spot of an abduction witnessed by an entire group of people.
Again, I just got to fall back on, it's not enough for me, but I do know this one story. If there was one thing that was going to convince me, it's that. And maybe it's because I saw fire in the sky. I don't know. And it's like in my DNA at this point. But it's an interesting one.
It's also one of those where it's like they go to the site where these guys claim that it happened. There's trees and bushes and things or whatever that are like broken in certain ways. There's radiation readings in the area where again, how did these guys make it radioactive so that when somebody came to take a test, they would get a reading?
You could buy some back alley uranium. You can go on the street and, go to a drug dealer. Instead of drugs, it's uranium. Is that how it works? I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's why they're the top 2, because they did the back alley uranium deal, and that earns you a top 3 spot.
There is a black market for it. How to access that black market, I don't know. All right, let's go to this top one, because this one I actually don't know a ton about, and it's super compelling, and let's hear it. It's the Barney and Betty Hill incident, if you will.
Yeah, this is the number 1. This, to me, has kind of all the elements that you're looking for in a story like this to try to convince somebody that it's real. You've got physical evidence, you've got witnesses, you've got interviews, displaced time, all kinds of stuff. Let's get into it. Betty and Barney Hill, first of all, and the reason I'm going to say this is because they're an interracial couple, and I share that because it's 1961 in New Hampshire. It is a time where if you are an interracial couple, there's probably a good chance that you're not looking to draw the entire country's attention to yourself, especially for something like an alien abduction story or something like that. I mean, just
looking at a family portrait of the two of them with their dog, they look like amazing, honest people who took like civil rights risks in the 60s. I don't want to call them liars. You know what I'm saying?
My friend, you couldn't have nailed it better. Betty was a social worker. Barney was a postal worker. This is like the cutest, sweetest American couple ever.
Yeah.
They're driving home from vacation in Canada. Shout out to the CANADA. When they see a bright light in the sky, they think it's a star. They think it's a planet. I mean, this is back then before, it's Starlink and Elon's got a satellite up there. All of a sudden, they realize that this light is moving erratically and it appears to be following them. As it gets closer, Barney stops the car and gets out and has binoculars from their vacations, like available in the car. He gets out and he reports being able to see 8 to 11 humanoid type figures in black uniforms with large eyes staring back at him from this object. So panic sets in, they go to flee, and then realize that there's this giant missing window of about 2 hours. Now, when they go to report it and share this whole thing because they don't know what's happening or whatever, they're separated. They go through separate hypnosis sessions. They both describe that the same story. So we've got all that again. But here's where this one really kind of jumps into the number 1 slot. On the car are these shiny, like circular spots on the trunk. And if you hold a compass or something above these spots, it goes ballistic, like it spins around at just like a crazy speed. It can't like lock in any way. So there's this like really odd magnetic anomaly with their car. Betty's dress is torn, and there's this like pink powdery substance on it that they don't know what it is. It's chemically analyzed and never conclusively identified. Both of their shoes have scuff marks all along them, as if they've been, their feet are like dragged or pulled along things or whatever. But this is at a time where your appearance, your outfit, your clothing, it's put together in a way or whatever, and they're properly dressed, and they've got these oddly scuffed shoes. This missing period of time, a 35-mile stretch of road, with like no memory of events and whatever it is. But here is, it gets crazier.
The kicker.
A star map. Betty draws a map from memory under hypnosis that she says that these beings share with her. And the stars are arranged in a pattern that an amateur astronomer later matches to a binary star system called Zeta Reticuli. And the match, critics say, like, it couldn't be a coincidence, and it's like this unbelievable thing that she knows this layout of this star system, and all of that. Their behavior, their credibility, all of it. So that's whatever. The final piece, both their watches, broken, stopped at the exact same time. I mean, physical evidence, like all of these pieces where you're just like, man, you've got two people with this story that like seems to check out any which way you look at it. How do you explain all these anomalies? What a farce. What a scam if they did pull it off.
I believe them, that in the sense that I think these are sincerely held beliefs. I believe they had some experience. I just don't think the explanation is visitors, but they do seem very great, these people. And the best I can give you is I don't know, but any fanciful explanation I'm not ready to accept based on the evidence. But I believe they believe what happened to them.
That is the dirtiest ending to a segment I've ever heard. You can't say that.
I can. It's called being a skeptic.
It's like getting in a fight with your partner and being like, I'm sorry that you feel that I was rude.
I'm sorry that you have compelling evidence and I refuse to accept it. Look, it's a great story. They seem like a great couple. And Noah, thanks for sharing these abduction stories. It's always great having you on the show.
I'll see you on the spaceship, buddy.
Noah Cappe. No, I can't sing the X-Files music. That's just too much. Noah Cappe's a TV host. He joins us for Noah versus the Unknown. Coming up, when trying not to parent with fear still makes your kids afraid of everything. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The only talk show with an introduction that mentions its own introduction. That's happening right now in this introduction. The Last Show with David Cooper.
I'm begging for a mention. Yeah, you just want attention.
My next guest grew up like many of you with grandparents who used fear as a bona fide parenting technique, fear as a tool, but she vowed to raise her children a little bit differently, yet the same anxieties took root in her kids. Can fear be passed down through the generations? That's what we'll discuss here with Nicole Johnson, a freelance writer and contributor at Business Insider. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
When did you first realize that fear was something very present with you growing up and something that you'd inherited?
I didn't realize it until I was in my 40s, really, which is kind of crazy.
Was it something that you decided like, hey, I don't want to parent like that. I want to lead by sort of anti-example, whatever they did. I'm not doing that.
Well, I think I did come to the realization probably a little bit before 40 when I first had my kids, which I had my first at 30. Um, but I don't think I actually knew, had a complete understanding of how significant my anxiety was until my 40s. Like I didn't know that I had it. But yes, I definitely wanted to parent differently than I was parented. And it's funny because when I had pitched this idea to my editor at Business Insider, I had pitched it with sort of a Gen X angle. And coming from Gen X, I feel like parents weren't around a lot. It was more of, I was very much a latchkey kid. So it was, keys under the door, let yourself in, take care of yourself type of thing. And I think my grandparents did the best that they could. And I think that they kind of did what other parents did. And it was like, okay, if I can't be there with you all the time, I will give you this little fear, right?
Doing the best we can or meaning well. I feel like while we look at our parents or our grandparents and think, great, they did what they thought was right, that can be used to justify like bad behavior. Your grandparents said they used fear to keep you safe. Looking back, do you think they actually believe that? Or were there other tools they could have used if they'd known better?
Oh, I think yes, if they had known better, I think there were definitely other tools. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. And I feel like, we try to do better than the people that raised us, right? We try to do things differently. I do think that some of it was so ingrained in me that I wound up doing exactly what they had done, though I had the best intentions. So I still don't know the answer to breaking sort of that cycle. I think I'm working on it. And like I said in the article, I, had therapy. I'm medicated now, which has helped me significantly. So
what were some of these ways in which fear-based parenting were used, or what was the example that was set for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think also, like I said, I am definitely a product of sort of my time. So I think there was a lot, the media definitely sort of pushing with, do you know where your kids are? It would be 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are right now or whatever? And I think part of that was growing up, like I said, in the generation that I grew up in. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like that was a big thing for us, was that media piece. And I feel like kind of parents, not just my grandparents, but other parents I knew at the time, kind of really went off the deep end with that, right? Like it was, I remember watching, it was a movie called, I think it was called The Day After Tomorrow. And it was from, I think, 1982 or 1983. So I'm totally aging myself here. But it was about nuclear war. And I was allowed to watch it. I was 8.
Wow.
And it was horrific. And I really feel like in some ways, my grandparents, they didn't intentionally try to scare me, but I do think when I had that conversation with them, it was like, yeah, we would rather you're scared than dead, right? Like we weren't around a lot and we kind of had to keep you safe.
That's a false dichotomy though, right? Like it's not like the only options are scared or dead. You know what I'm saying? But I guess that's what they believed. Let's fast forward to you raising kids.
Yes.
You tried to do it differently. No scary news stories. I guess no scary movies about nuclear war, gentler explanations about the world. And yet your son confessed to you that you passed the fear on to him anyway?
Yes. And I think, I think a big part of that was lack of self-awareness. And I also think a big part of that was my own anxiety. As much as I tried to push myself in a direction away from that, and, I think it still showed up. Unfortunately, I think it still kind of pushed through. Like I said, certain things are ingrained in you. And I think at that point, I hadn't had much therapy. I wasn't on medication. I just believed if I tried hard enough, I would do things differently.
How did it feel to hear your son say that?
Oh, it felt awful, quite honestly. I felt like I had failed at parenting in some really, kind of primal way. Like, oh, this is your job. You keep them safe. You instill confidence, you instill all these things that, make them safe to go out into the world and feel safe. And I felt like I had failed at that.
Do you think fear is a bit like, I don't know, glitter? Once you've got it on you, no matter how careful you are, it sticks and spreads and you can't get it out of the house?
I think, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think if I had realized the extent to which I had that anxiety, I think I wish I had done things a little bit different in that way. But I do think, yes, fear is a little bit like glitter. Yeah.
I hate when my girlfriend wears glitter, but I feel like that's a conversation for a more sillier time than this. In an attempt to paint your grandparents in a better light, do you think it can ever be a good teacher, fear? Or does it always come with anxiety, emotional baggage, things like that?
Well, I think what my son had said to me after we talked about sort of that fear piece and me realizing what had happened, he said, well, I'm still here, right? Like I'm still here. And so I think, I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, my grandparents were great people. They did the best they could. And I think, not to go too much into my own backstory, but I had parents who couldn't be there for me, right? So they were there and they just did things a little bit differently. So I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question in the best way, I guess.
No, it's a good answer. We're just having a discussion. And I want to know more about this anxiety that you realized you had in your 40s, I guess, which is a bit late in life.
It is.
At that moment, did you realize like, oh, this isn't normal? The kinds of things I think, there's something a little bit, different here, or there's something that needs to be medicated here.
Yes, I think living in a state of, and I think this is how I wrote it in the article, a state of perpetual fear, I realized, wow, no, other people don't live like this. So for me, it was a big realization that and again, you're right. I came to it very late in life, which I'm just grateful that I guess I came to it. And I have that chance with these kids because I have a gap in between my kids. So I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. So I'm definitely trying to be more cognizant of what I'm doing in terms of raising them without that crazy fear and anxiety.
If you could send yourself a message back in time to your 8-year-old self, maybe post-nightmare because of a nuclear war-related movie you might have watched, what would you say to comfort you?
Well, I think I would say it's just a movie, right? And I think so that would help with that piece. But I would also say that there isn't a boogeyman behind every corner, right? There are safe places. And I think I would give myself a hug, quite honestly. Just say it's okay.
Nicole Johnson is a freelance writer and contributor at Business Insider, where you can find her article, My Grandparents Raised Me and Parented with Fear. I tried to do things differently, but the result was the same. Nicole, thanks for talking to me today and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, David.
After the break, women in UK politics tweet more, work harder, and still face an uphill climb compared to their male counterparts. Fresh research exposes how media coverage and public reaction quietly tilt the playing field for political candidates who are women. But here's the question. If the bias is subtle, how do we even begin to fix it? That discussion in a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and lickpad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. We're talking chew toys at your door without really waiting fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, and peg hammer fast and fast. And there's training TREATS faster than you can say sit fast. And now we can all relax and order these matching hoodies to get cozy and cute fast. Fast free delivery. It's on Prime.
The show that asks the questions other shows are afraid to ask. The Last Show with David Cooper.
It's 2025, yet at least in British politics, women running for office still face a strange arithmetic. Tweet more, work harder, only to achieve the same attention as men, if they're lucky. A new study shows just how the media and public quietly tip the scales, and that female election candidates are likely to receive less media coverage for the same number of tweets. We are here with Susan Banducci, a political science professor at the University of Birmingham, to discuss this. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation to join you today.
For someone new to this topic, can you explain what you mean by the gender penalty, at least as it comes to UK elections, and how your research unearthed it?
Well, the gender penalty refers to what is assumed to be a baseline preference for men or male candidates. So women suffer a baseline penalty. So when they get, if you think about it this way, when men and women get to the starting blocks for an election, that women, once they start, well, they'll just suffer a penalty for standing or running in the election. And so they'll lose votes for being a woman.
So losing votes, losing attention, losing kind of competitiveness. Your study found that women candidates tweeted more but were retweeted less. Is this like a good metric to study, or do you think this is a good indicator of this problem?
That's a really good question. So where we started the study was actually, yes, with this idea that women have to work twice as hard to overcome the gender penalty. So the recent evidence, or actually a lot of accumulated evidence up to the point, said that, yeah, when women and men get to the starting blocks, if they get to the starting blocks, they counter to what we would expect with a gender penalty. They actually do as well as men. But our question is, well, do they come to the starting block with different skills, different experiences, more experience, etc.? And once the race starts, then are they engaging in more campaign effort in order, and they get less bang for their buck? In other words, are they? So we thought, okay, how do we measure that? How do we capture with the work that they're doing in a campaign? And that is a bit challenging because there's a lot of work that goes on in a campaign. So where we started with, well, okay, we can get, and it sounds very antiquated now to talk about Twitter and to get Twitter data, because the study we did, it was in 2019.
Oh, I was about to ask, is it before Twitter became a cesspool?
Yeah, before Twitter became, and before researchers completely lost access and easy access to getting data. So we were actually able to get the tweets of candidates, and we thought, okay, this is a measure of, we're going to take this as a measure of their overall campaign effort. So the effort that they're putting into a campaign. And if you think about it, in some ways, social media, you would think about it as being particularly good for women, and particularly good for women candidates, because they can do it on their own. They don't have to go through political parties, and political parties are notorious for holding back women and holding back women candidates. Generally. So I can talk more about that, but they are one of the stumbling blocks, and one of the hurdles for women are political parties, the people who select them as candidates. So social media, you would think, would be good for women because they can go directly to it, they can use it, they don't need to go through the party. They don't have to engage also with traditional media, because we know that the media are biased in their coverage of women. They both tend to cover women candidates less. There's a lot of evidence that they cover women candidates less, and also when they do cover them, they tend to focus on their appearances, their personal characteristics, their family life, not on their experience or on their policy positions. So you would think that social media would be a good place for women to go to sort of get their campaign going. But we also know, of course, that social media is it's a hostile place for women.
Very much so.
There's a lot of, it's talk about a cesspool, very negative place for them. But what we found, we thought, okay, but at least we can use it as a measure of how much effort they're putting into their campaign.
If two candidates, like one man, one woman, are equally skilled, equally experienced, what extra invisible hurdles does your research show that women have to clear to match the chances to win?
Yes, so you're exactly right. And what we're doing essentially is trying to compare two equally experienced candidates, a man to a woman, those who have the same party experience, the same electoral experience. And we still find once they tweet, women are tweeting more, even when we control for all of that, if they're an incumbent, if they've held prior political office, they're tweeting more, but they're not getting the same visibility from the traditional media in terms of their tweeting. So what is happening between their campaign activity and the response that they get from the media? Because we know that the media are extremely important in terms of the traditional media, still extremely important in getting a candidate's message up. So what's happening there? Why are they working harder and getting less media coverage?
That's the $1 million question, right?
And I love this. I love this because it does move the question away from, well, what are women doing wrong? They're not doing anything wrong. They're actually working harder. So I think it turns the focus around to, well, what are the media doing? Why are the media biased against women candidates? And so there's a couple of things. One is that, for the media, logic would be, well, they're not used to covering women candidates in terms of their policy positions. What they want to focus on and what they think the voters or the public wants to hear about is whether they're a mother, what dress they're wearing, what shoes they're wearing, what sort of is going on in their personal life, etc., and not focusing on their vast experience in politics, perhaps, or their educational background or the policy positions that they might have.
So there's a problem here, but some people might say if women still win elections, what's the problem here? How would you respond to a comment like that without rolling your eyes too hard?
Well, the problem is that women are underrepresented. They're still underrepresented in politics. And it seems to have hit a pause. There has been progress, but it just has stalled. It's very difficult now to make further progress on the representation of women. So I think this is still an important question because women's representation or the lack of women's representation has policy consequences. Women tend to support different policies. They support policies that are favorable toward families, that are favorable toward the state, that provide greater services. So there is a difference in terms of the policies that we might get with more women elected. But also, it just doesn't look right, does it? Doesn't look right when you look at a parliament or a legislature and it doesn't have women represented. It just doesn't look right. And I think people notice.
It doesn't look right to me. I think, unfortunately, it does look right to some people.
Yeah.
Like, at the risk of asking a very simple question to answer with just a minute left here in the interview, what would you like to see changed?
That's such a good question because, again, I would turn the focus away from, well, what can women do? And again, I think they're doing enough. What we found from other research that we've done is that men can be better allies to support women when they see that they're not getting the attention that they deserve. That's really appreciated by women. We found that from our evidence. Also, the media can do a bit of, I don't know, I guess I want to call it soul searching, and they could look at their editorial policies around how they cover elections and ensure that they're using appropriate language when they cover men and women candidates, and that they're moving away from sort of personal aspects of candidates and focus on policies. We would all benefit from the media focusing on policy rather than on personal characteristics.
Susan Banducci is a political science professor at the University of Birmingham. Susan, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Coming up next, getaway party vacations. Behind the sun, sea, and nightlife of party tourism lies a business model that encourages extreme behavior, predatory behavior, and looks the other way when it crosses the line. We'll discuss how these destinations are built and who they really protect in a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for buy one, get one free on select styles, plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
Please be advised that the following program contains audio content that may be graphic and potentially triggering for some listeners. This content may include descriptions or sounds that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is strongly advised. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Sun-soaked beach party destinations promise us carefree fun and partying, but alarmingly, research shows that these destinations hosting sunny holiday escapes can also have environments where predatory behavior thrives, and victims can be silenced to protect local profits. Nicola Pratt, political science professor at the University of Warwick, joins me to discuss how the party tourism model works, its hidden harms, and what safer alternatives might look like for you. Nicola, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello.
Helping familiarize us with your research, could you explain what you mean by a party tourism bubble, and how is that different from like a regular holiday destination?
So party tourism bubble is much more of a, not physically enclosed space, but it's designed as a space mainly aimed at tourism, as opposed to, say, somewhere like New York, where tourism is just one aspect of the economic activities and social activities that are going on there. And so it's because these spaces, these destinations are primarily aimed at tourists, that this is why the dynamics that we look at in our paper become particularly concentrated.
Now, these destinations are like in the Caribbean, maybe in Mexico, islands in the Mediterranean. I don't want to name any specific ones, but the marketing of these places, from language like party paradise, other marketing terms, they create a certain imagery for us, but they also help create this atmosphere where risky or predatory behavior comes normalized, don't they?
Yes, that's right. I mean, on the marketing very much sells these places as places of pleasure, enjoyment, even transgression. You think also about like the famous catchphrase, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. But that environment of transgression has this dark underbelly where if you create an environment in which anything goes under the banner of having fun, then anything goes can incorporate also things like sexual assault, sexual harassment, as well as other risky behaviors.
We add drugs, alcohol, partying, encouragement of these activities into the mix, and this predatory behavior has really an environment to thrive.
Yes.
But what's really alarming here is local authorities. How do they typically behave when this stuff comes up?
Yeah, I mean, the tourism business is so competitive. These destinations, they're competing against one another, and it's really important that they retain a good place reputation, that they retain a reputation for being safe places to visit. Nobody wants to go and have a holiday somewhere where you think you're going to be the victim of sexual assault or other sorts of crime. So that becomes pressure then. There's pressures then, primarily through sort of economics, to protect that place reputation and to suppress any bad news that might become associated with the destination. And it's not just destinations either. This also applies to things like cruise ships, for example.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of sexual violence as like the result of isolated bad actors. But does your research suggest that it's more structural or more business model based in these places?
Yeah, absolutely. This is it, that it is a structural problem. It is a combination of these, first of all, pressures, business pressures, and also within the destinations, the sort of business models of the stakeholders, like the bar owners or the owners of other businesses in these sorts of resorts and destinations, to encourage this sort of non-stop party behavior. And then you throw into the mix the already existing misogyny or sexism, then it becomes a very toxic mix where sort of predatory behavior can become easily normalized and excused as part of the environment of partying and having fun. But the silencing around any sorts of allegations of sexual assault further sort of reinforces, whenever you silence allegations of sexual assault, you create further an environment where it further becomes permissible for sexual assault and other types of sexual crimes to go unpunished.
Now, when these local tourism authorities or businesses talk about this stuff, they often put the responsibility on the women to protect themselves, like be careful, watch your drinks, these sorts of guidances. This kind of puts the blame on the victims of this behavior and not really addressing the structural problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This you see this, for example, the travel guidance that the British government issues for these places like Cyprus and these other sort of party destinations very much puts the onus on the individual to be careful, to make sure they don't leave their drink unattended in case the drink gets spiked, to drink moderately. Yet, because our research shows that these are wider structural problems, putting the onus on the individual is it's almost like blaming the individual if anything happens to them, but it obviously is not enough in order to address what is much more deep-rooted problems.
If you could give some advice or guidance to some of the local authorities or places where this happens, where silencing has been observed, and have them really hear you, what would that little bit of advice be?
Well, as with a lot of structural problems, tinkering around the edges often isn't going to do very much. So it really what we call for in our article is a wholesale rethinking of this model of tourism bubbles and the need to get away from that and to think about tourism in a much more sustainable way, because these bubbles are not only places where sexual violence may become permissible, but it's also, other research has shown that there are environmental costs and other social costs to this sort of intensive mass tourism. So it's really about rethinking tourism, the tourism business as a whole, and seeing this problem of sexual violence as part of wider structural problems with tourism. Which I know means that this is not a problem that can be solved overnight and don't have like an easy policy prescription for tourism, for people in the tourism business. But I mean, at least, things like businesses should be really thinking about the way in which they market holidays in order to get away from the sort of sexual objectification of women in these marketing materials, to think about not just sort of making sure that there's like 24/7 access to alcohol in these destinations. I mean, there are some smaller, if you like, smaller tinkering around the edges that could make a difference. But it wouldn't necessarily get rid of the problem altogether.
No, it's a good answer. I maybe the question was too simply framed, but I appreciate you going through that with me. And I appreciate you sharing your research with me and having this discussion. Nicola, thanks for joining me on the show.
Thanks for talking to me today.
Nicola Pratt is a political science professor at the University of Warwick. Up next, what if the compounds in magic mushrooms could slow down you aging? Not just in your mind, but all over your body. After the break, we'll explore some groundbreaking research where psilocybin didn't just extend the life of small mice, it made them look younger too. And kids, talk to your doctor, don't try this at home. I'm David Cooper, this is The Last Show.
In the 70s, 4 young women were found dead. For nearly 50 years, their cases went cold. I'm Nancy Hixt, a senior crime reporter for Global News. In the season finale of Crime Beat, I share how investigators uncovered shocking evidence of a serial killer and hear exclusive interviews with the killer's family. Listen to the full season of Crime Beat early and ad-free on Amazon Music by asking Alexa to play the podcast Crime Beat.
The human algorithm, where emotional inputs create unexpected outputs. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Psilocybin, the compound in magic mushrooms, has been making waves in mental health research, assisting with things like depression, anxiety, PTSD. But could the compound actually help us age better as well? A new study suggests that psilocybin can not only extend our lifespan, but possibly improve how we age, right down to your very cells. I'm here with someone working on this research. She's an associate professor at Baylor College of Medicine. Her name is Dr. Louise Hecker. Louise, welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm always so fascinated what compels people to get into a research area that are with substances that are ostensibly illegal to take on the street, but possibly helpful for medical uses. Why the interest in, magic mushrooms?
Yeah, so when you're a scientist, what tends to happen is all of your non-science friends just kind of hammer you with science questions randomly. And a friend of mine was just constantly asking me questions about psilocybin. And so I just decided to start reading about it. And what I read was, I was just hooked within minutes. And to put it in context of what made me so fascinated, I found, there is this medicine that comes from mushrooms, and it's been used in over 150 clinical trials for so many different disease indications, and showing great clinical efficacy in these trials. And then the really interesting part that I just couldn't make sense of was that it has these durable, meaning lasting effects. So even one dose has been shown to have an impact up to 5 years later. And I just thought that doesn't make sense. This drug peaks within a few hours and then it's out of your system within a day. How does it have an impact 5 years later?
Is a fascinating compound. Most of the people I've spoken to about it, researchers, often use it for mental health benefits. That's not exactly the study we're talking about here.
Right.
You gave it to mice, and you had some interesting findings about the way they looked, about their aging. Walk me through what you tested here and what you found.
Yeah. So one of the things that I read when I was doing this background reading was that there was something called the psilocybin telomere hypothesis. And essentially, this is a hallmark of aging. And the idea behind this hypothesis is that maybe it's doing something to aging, and that is why that's a mechanism by which it can have an impact on all these different disease indications. And as someone who studies aging, I thought, I can test that. And so that's exactly what I did. I went into the lab, started with cells. The cell data was so impressive. We saw that in a dose-dependent way, we saw cellular life extension up to 57%. And then that gave us the motivation and drive to take this into animal studies.
And so you took him to animal studies. What did you find with the animals you gave it to?
Yeah, so the main endpoint we were looking at was survival. And we started with aged mice, which were equivalent to a 65-year-old person. Because we did that because we wanted something that was clinically relevant. So, as we age and as we all are getting older, we're starting to think more about anti-aging interventions, especially in our 60s. And so we wanted something that was a realistic treatment protocol. So we started with aged mice. We gave it to them once a month. And very early on, we started seeing signs that these mice really were looking better. At the end of the experiment, when 50% of the vehicle-treated mice had not survived, we only saw 20% mortality in the psilocybin mice. So there was this dramatic improvement in survival.
Did the psilocybin mice report enjoying the music of the Grateful Dead more after the trial? I'm sorry, I had to. No, let's get serious. At a cellular level, how does psilocybin help the cells of these mice stay young?
Yeah, so these are some of the things that we're working through, but our data suggests that psilocybin acts on multiple hallmarks of aging. So reduced oxidative stress. That's something that accumulates with normal aging, and we saw significantly lower levels of oxidative stress. In fact, similar to young cells, we saw that telomere length is preserved. We saw that DNA repair mechanisms, our data says DNA repair mechanisms are working better. And all of these different things that normally happen with age just seem to be delayed and happen at a much later time point.
I've heard that this telomere or telomere length thing is super important for aging. How did psilocybin affect that one specifically?
So telomeres, the analogy I like to use is it's telomeres are kind of like the plastic caps on the end of your shoelace. And when you buy that new pair of shoes, those caps are nice, intact, long. And then as you wear those shoes longer, those caps become frayed and shortened. And that's kind of what happens to telomeres. So telomeres are something that we look at that we know they shorten with age. It's a classic hallmark of how we measure biologically aging. What we found is that those telomere lengths were preserved in the psilocybin-treated cells. So it's doing something to preserve these telomere lengths, which again is a major hallmark of aging.
And where are these cells being affected? Is it all over the body of the mice? Is it lungs, heart, skin, brain? Is it all of the, or is it specific ones?
So yeah, that's a great question. We don't know the answer to that, but what I can tell you is that so psilocybin is known to act on the serotonin receptor. And I think most of us, when we think of serotonin receptor, we think of the brain. And certainly it has impacts in the brain. But I think that what most people don't know is that serotonin receptors are on most all cells.
Oh.
And so it kind of makes sense that it would impact all other cells outside the brain. The reality is we just haven't studied that very well yet. And so that's where I come in, saying, well, what does it do to serotonin receptors outside the brain? And this is probably one of the first studies to really evaluate its systemic impacts.
Well, to that end, most studies focusing on the effects on the brain, on mental health, on using it in psychiatry and psychology and for these kind of uses. Were you surprised by its anti-aging magic, it would seem?
Well, I figured that, again, with my reading, I figured, how is it working? I mean, it just doesn't make sense that this drug is out of your system and it's working years later. And so I knew that there was something interesting to this drug, that it's got to be doing something that we just don't understand yet. So now when we saw the data, yeah, I was floored. I was absolutely floored. So it worked way better than I could have even imagined. So it's very exciting research.
I'd be remiss if I didn't point this out. The results seem really good with mice in your trials. Could this translate? And I don't mind if you speculate. We're not like holding you up to the academic journal standard here, but could this translate to therapies, anti-aging benefit to people?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't work on something if I didn't think it could translate. So I absolutely believe in the potential of this translating to human trials. Now, that said, I feel like it's important to mention, to caution people not to take the direct findings from this study and translate them themselves. I think a lot more research needs to be done in order to not only evaluate the effects of long-term dosing, but also the potential harms. No one's really studied the potential harms of long-term high-dose psilocybin. So we need to do that and optimize the treatment protocols and how to make sure that we can effectively translate to the clinic. But absolutely, I believe it can be.
I wonder if you could extract like the psychoactive properties away and just turn it into something like Botox, or turn it into something that like doesn't get you kind of brain high, if you will. Probably not the best way to describe that, but just be a treatment for anti-aging. Do you think that could be a future?
I do. And I think that's one of the things that needs to be worked out. We don't know. I don't know what the effective dose is. So maybe you could get microdose and have the same effects. These are things that we're actively testing right now. And that might be a better option for people who don't want that psychedelic impact.
Well, it's a fascinating area of research. It's a really cool study. Thank you for sharing with me, and I appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
And maybe I'll see you at a Grateful Dead concert. I don't know. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. Dr. Louise Hecker is an associate professor at Baylor College of Medicine. Louise, thanks again for being on the program.
Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap on the night. That's a wrap on the week. Thanks for listening to us. Don't forget The Last Show is available as a podcast for you to stream. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza. That's lastshow.pizza in your web browser. There's no .com, and there you can find out details of our podcast, including how to subscribe, or just search David Cooper Last Show in your favorite podcast app. I am David Cooper, and this was, what show was this again? We'll be back Monday night.
They come from Survivor, they come from Big Brother, they know what they're doing.
These vets wrote the playbook, and they have all had to earn their stripes. How did you win Survivor?
Manipulating people. Same thing I'm gonna do here.
And now, new threats will enter the game, hungry to forge a new legacy.
Once we train them, it's gonna be hard to contain.
This really, truly is the most even matchup that I've seen in a long time.
The Challenge, Vets and New Threats. All new Wednesday on Slice and stream on Stack TV.